Hi guys, this is day 2 of solving for a variable, and so we're going to just look at more examples of what we did yesterday. Um, so let's get started. So remember, solving for a variable means getting that variable by itself on one side of the equal sign and everything else to the other side. So then we say we've solved for that variable in terms of the other variables. So this first one, it says solve for x. We see we have u, x, and y. So we have 3 variables there. We're going to solve for x in terms of u and y. Okay, so we have u minus 2x. We want to get x by itself. Think of the 2 as being, wrapped a little tighter, closer to that x, harder to get rid of. We'll peel this off, everything off one layer at a time, we might say, and the u is easier to get rid of. So we'll subtract u from both sides. On the left we have negative 2x. On the right we have 3y plus 1 minus u. The whole thing. Notice there are no like terms there. I'll write that down. Nothing you can do to combine anything. You just leave it like that. Okay, so now we're almost done. We got to get x by itself, so we divide both sides by negative 2. And on the left, we get our x just like we wanted to, all by itself. On the right, we can leave that. And that is simplified, because if we split that up into the fractions, we couldn't cancel anything out. Now we would have a negative u over negative 2. We could make it positive. But that's really not simpler. It's okay to leave that like it is. Okay. Let's look at the next one. Solve for c. Okay, so this one, we have b multiplied by c plus a. Interestingly, this time the thing that's added when we're solving for c, it's a that's added to c, but that's the harder one to get rid of this time, right? It's actually tied more tightly to the c because of the parentheses. So because of those parentheses, the one that's easy to peel off first is the b, right? Let's get rid of that. So divide both sides by b. Okay, and so we get c plus a equals 8 over b, and we're almost done. Solving for c, just subtract a from both sides. Okay, 8 over b minus a, and that's it. Let's put some boxes around these. Okay. So let's look at this next one. Here we're solving for h. So couple things to get rid of. There's the 1/3, and there's also b. So 3 is on the denominator, and I think we had one the other day. We rewrote this, recognizing that b is just b over 1, and h is h over 1. And I'll write it over here. What we did something like this, I think. It was a different problem, but it was the same idea. Okay, and that gave us our A equals, then across the top you have BH over 3, and then we recognized multiply both sides by 3 to get rid of the 3, and then went from there. Okay, and that's one way to do it. This time I want to just look at another way to think about it, and that is we're multiplying by 1/3, so we can think of this as just multiplying by the reciprocal without going to the trouble of getting that 3 on the bottom like this to make it obvious that we want to multiply by 3 to get rid of that 3. Instead, we could think of this as 1/3 here, and we know 3 times 1/3 is 1, and then 1 is when you multiply by 1, that's a number that can just be ignored. It's gone. The 3 is gone at that point. That is, the 3 in the denominator is gone, the 1/3 is gone. So let's just recognize, sure, we multiply both sides by 3, and that's going to cancel the 1/3. So you have 3 times A equals 3 times 1/3 BH, and so that's 3A equals, that does indeed cancel, and then just BH, right? And then we're almost there. We're solving for H, so we divide both sides by B. And when we divide the right by the B, it just leaves H, and that's it. So, just another way to look at that. Another way to go about it. And you can think of it either way. You can do it either way. Okay, so let's see. We got one more. Solve for M. Okay. So what do we get rid of first here? Are we ready to get rid of this M? Well, remember the bar is a grouping symbol, so you could think of parentheses around the M plus 6. The M is tied tighter to the 6. It's harder to get rid of. We'll get rid of the N first. That's the way to do this. Multiply. So we multiply both sides by N. Okay. So that is just what we want. M plus 6 equals 12N. And now we're ready to solve for M. Subtract 6 from both sides. Okay. Write it like that. On the left we have M, and on the right we have 12N minus 6. And you cannot do anything with the 12N minus 6. Those are not like terms. And so you're done. Let's see, I'll mark this down here. Not like terms. And that's it. So that's some more examples. This is one of the really more commonly used techniques. People do this all the time. I mean, this process of solving for a variable in terms of other variables. In a laboratory, you need to rearrange a formula. It's more convenient to write it another way. So this is one of those things that's used a lot. So that's all for now, and see you later.